Good to know you're out there. And if you're just joining us, this is Daybreak Africa on KAFTAN TV. I am Kareen Edet. So on our today's episode, we'll be considering persistent push for strike by the NLC and TUC to obtain their demand. And we have in the studio Kehinde Emmanuel, a public affairs analyst, and we trust that he'll do justice today to this topic. Good to have you in the studio.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
A very good morning to you.
Very good morning.
Firstly, before I go with the first question on my plate, I must say I really enjoyed the last time he was in the studio. Like, he poured out everything that was on his mind, and I'm looking forward to get same energy, if possible, more greater energy. Now, looking at the TUC and the NLC, they have slated on 14th of November to embark on the, let me say, industrial action. Most people will be like, of course, if you're conversant with what is going on in the news, the attack on the president of the NLC and everything, most people feels like, okay, this is a feeling thing, this is a political thing. Now, you as a public affairs analyst, what do you think is really behind this? Is it just because they didn't get their demands met, or something else is really biting behind?
Okay, thank you so much for having me once again. The whole issue with this, the labor, all right, has started as far back as the pre-election season, all right, into the election cycle, I mean the presidential election now. You recall that as a particular party that has a representation that connotes labor in its own sense, all right, so and the particular presidential candidate, all right, ran on that ticket for that party, and it was very clear, all right, that the aspect of neutrality of where labor should be neutral in their dealings was eroded in an attempt to communicate their own agitation also. That is because on the strength of their numbers, on the strength of their workforce, the people that make up the NLC, they want to believe strongly that they have the numbers to be able to push that demand. So how we can achieve our aim, or that is to see that we can feed somebody that I think has a bit of a feelings with the aspirations of our people, the person that has an understanding of what we really are feeling as a people. So let us see how we can push this person through. Let me even say that at the national NLC, at the NLC headquarters, all right, the posters of the candidate of the Labour Party was flooded, all right, in their secretariat, to let you know that there is already a misrepresentation that they have given out to the public. That's number one. Now, the issue of their demands, all right, is another thing on an entire, is a different ballgame. Now, is it that they have not met, they have met at different times, all right, and if you recall that there were decisions that were made, 15 decisions that they both agreed on, all right, and in which, would you say as at now that none have been done? It would likely be, that would likely be a lie. But now, the issue of Imo State is the very genesis of this whole November 14 issue now. It's not an issue of the whole Nigeria now. It's an issue of, let us see how we can pick Imo State and then make sense out of it to the people generally, all right, and let everybody just shut down the whole system. Let me say, you recall that they shut down the airport. The Minister for Aerospace and Aviation, that is Festus Keyamo, all right, he was even trying to plead with them. But you must realize that what was done on that day, as far as I'm concerned, is not protest anymore. It is a big offense, because you cannot say because you want to exercise your own right that you must infringe on the right of other people.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, sorry, Karen, before you go, still on what you just said, you made mention that Imo State has been chosen as a place of, okay, I will use the word scapegoats.
Okay.
Now, what is the interest that is really generating around Imo State? Why do you think they really picked Imo State?
Yeah, the same issue that, now NLC is political. I am of the opinion that NLC should just let it be clear to people that they are a political party. Now, they have moved from pressure groups. We all know what pressure groups do. Okay, now they have moved from pressure groups, they have metamorphosed into a political party, which is now a movement. Let me even say that in my trying to go through the Imo State election is another way for them to make a statement. I hope you know that Abia State is governed by Labour Party, Alex Oti, all right? Now, they are like, now that we have been able to get a state, all right, we should be able to do something in this state also, to make a statement and see how our demands can be met. I went through, I tried to see, let me even try and understand the peculiarity of Imo State. Is it that they are owing salaries? Is it that there are issues with the labor in Imo State? And the issue that happened with the NLC, national, and the state, was that the state faction are telling the national that we are at peace with the government. We don't have any issue with the government. But national, trying to say you want to make a statement. Now, I hope you know that it's a conflict of interest. Now, according to the tenets of the civil service, is that we should be neutral. Neutrality is not saying that there should not be a card-carrying member. Neutrality is that when you work with a particular government, you must maintain neutrality to say that you are going to carry out the same work as though there is no other party involved. So whether it's this party that is there or party B, you must still do what needs to be done. Now, that is their own position. I mean, for Imo of Labour, NLC, Imo State. Now, for national, they are come with the same agenda, all right, that we should be able to use our force to make a statement in this state. It's not more an issue of whether he has done well or he has done bad. It's an attempt to say, how can we use our population, how can we use our strength to see how we can, influence the decision of the people of Imo State. But you agree with me that it's never even materialized, and that is why you see that the issue or that they are agitating for now is that the commissioner of police, all right, in Imo State should be suspended. They should be arrested immediately. When you even use the word like immediately arrested, it's as though that our labor is like they are not learned. So understand that things like that, you cannot command things like that to happen. That's why you come to the issue of law. You must talk about evidences. You cannot just say the person should be arrested. Why should the person be arrested? Was the person seen at the scene? Not that's not their accountant. The reason why they are now clamoring for November 14 is on the strength that if that is not done, if the police is not arrested, if the advisor to the governor on something is not arrested, then we will now make it a full-blown strike. To think that you would think in our mind that maybe they really have good intentions. It's clear, it is visible to the blind that there is something that is internal, that is within them, that they really want to really accomplish with trying to cause a chaos. Why would you say we should go on a strike because the president was attacked? And so everybody across the country should just support the strike.
Okay, so now still speaking on the part of them calling other workers and affiliates to join them on a strike. Yes. So do you think this is a considerable call for action? I mean, because they are of the opinion that, okay, because this person has been attacked, that's Joe Ajaro, he has been attacked, and so I also read that at some point he was arrested, but the police claimed that he was not arrested, but they were trying to like guard him from the thugs that actually attacked the scene. So, I mean, is this a considerable call for action, or is it just a scene they just try to put up?
I mean, for me, everything is all a scene. It's more of a drama between the two parties, Imo State versus Labour, which is national. Now, the Imo faction of the Labour are already in good terms with the governor at the time, and that's why the election process, he made a statement in his opening speech to let them know that you guys have shown me love. Speaking to the Labour now, you workers of this state, you have shown me love by coming out in mass to make a statement. All right, to show, because love is that although there has been a system where they want to influence your decisions against the government, but now you guys have stood true to this and you have given me your vote, then I will also do this for you. Now that is on another, but the whole agitation of Ajero, I am sorry to say that is the guy would most likely shoot themselves on the leg. Let me even say that one of the reasons why I fear that is already having a political connotation is the people who led the movement of the strike. If you have issue with Imo State, if the issue was with Imo State, which airport should be shut down? Should it be Abuja airport? The airport that, so you want to put everybody stranded because you are trying to attack Imo State. But now they said in their own speech that they want to stop flights going to Imo. If you are going to stop flights going to Imo, how does that do with you blocking the entrance of the airport? So as much as we are trying to say what to protest, you will realize that the approach that the Labour is engaging is not the best approach they should have engaged. And I'm sorry to say that I think an industrial court action was communicated to them to halt their strike. And let me even say that at the end of it, just I'm saying it now, it's not a prophecy, but that Labour will likely be silenced in this administration. Okay,
you made mention of something like that the Labour faction of the state, Imo State, are in good terms with the government. But going through the news, I was able to see some things talking about the arrears of some people not being paid for a very long time, over 20 months. Some people have been declared ghost worker unlawfully. why they have been attending to work, they have been going to work. I want to understand the level of transparency, because if you come to me as a new administration, of course you have your plan, you have things that you want to do. But at the end of the day, you just come to me and say, okay, Michael, you are a ghost worker. There should be transparency. There should be clarity of, okay, this is why you are a ghost worker. These other things will found against you. And if you will agree with me, mostly when it comes to Nigerian administration, new policies being put on ground, we lack transparency. We just come and just make laws. Now, we understand the issues between the president of the Labour Congress and also the states, also calling on some things that they want to be done, which possibly might not be done, as you have said earlier. Now, what is the level of transparency in that state as regard to all these things that I've named? Because if Labours are really pushing through this and they have their truth, they have their figures, they have their information, their evidence, I dare to say they might not be able to be shut down, as you've said earlier. Okay, so what I'm trying to say now, when we talk about ghost workers does not necessarily mean that maybe they are not physical people in the organization. Now, let me give you, there's a perspective to ghost worker. One is an aspect of the fact that there are certain people who should have retired, all right, who are still in the system. All right. Now, that is to say, though you might likely see some of those people in office, but you know that they have overstayed their welcome. Number two category are those that, if you look at the payroll, if they look at the payroll, they realize that certain names of people are entered 4 or 5 times. And that is a failure of technology. That's because we have not introduced technology into our civil service. And that is why the administration of Imo State and themselves even across states, most governors, when new governors come into power, you see that some of them talk about trying to flush out ghost workers. What they are trying to do is that they are trying to reduce the voted of money that is accrued to the workforce. Imagine that let me say, for instance, now, Odo State, you have a budget of 1.2 billion is budgeted per month to pay salaries. But a new government is coming into place and realize that there are certain people that should have retired. There are certain people who have, they have given up the ghost, they have died, but now their record have not been updated accordingly. So salaries are still being paid to those people. I hope you know that whether the person gets it or not, the money still goes to a particular person. Of course. So these are the issues. And now when talking about the issue of arrears, now I hope you know that government is a continuum. All right. So if I am not in government, all right, and maybe 15 years ago an arrears was owed, when I come to power, the demand will still be on me to make the payment. Because you are the government. Because I'm government. Exactly. So that's like government is continuum. But now when I look at the engagement of the governor with the civil servant, all right, of Imo State now, there was no place where they were trying to say, oh, we know there are certain demands. They made it clear that there are certain demands in which they and the Imo faction of the Labour have struck a deal with the government. It's like this is we and our own government. I hope we have agreed this thing. This is local, all right? Because hope you know that even the agreement that Labour had with the federal government has no basis and any place for state government. The only clause they had in that agreement was that the federal government should try to, the chairman of the governors forum, to try to see that they communicate it to other states. I hope you also know that even when the 30,000 minimum wage also came on board, it was not every state that could adopt that same amount of money across board that very year. Some may begin to shift, we cannot pay this. Some can say they can pay this amount, because we must understand that the money that is raised by each state also differs to state. It's not only peculiar to Nigeria. All right. So Lagos, I think for me, Lagos and Rivers are the only 2 states that can pay any amount conveniently. But other states, look at Ekiti State for instance. And you expect them to pay 75,000. If the new minimum comes out, I saw something that some states will still struggle, right, to say they want to make that payment. But then the workers of that state will not say because of that they will not raise demand. They also want to claim that demand. All right. But now it is now between the government of the state and the labor force. The national will not say they want to interfere. And that's the problem that today Imo State is having, that the labor of national is trying to interfere at all costs into what is happening. Exactly where I want to come in there. Sorry, Kareen, because I really want us to do justice to this as well. Now, you made mention of some states really struggling to make payment when it comes to incrementing minimum wage. I want to understand that we work by statistics, we work by number, we work by what we call allocations. And I'm very sure that the federal governments are not stupid, because they have to understand that if we are agreeing to pay this certain amount to workers, we want to increase their minimum wage. they should also consider, because I believe the allocations are coming from them to other states, they should also have it at the back of their mind that, okay, these states, we have to increase something for them. You can't just leave them on the same amount of allocation and believe. We also have some reliefs that are going to be coming in, some incentives that are also going to people called palliatives and the rest like that, to make things work, to cushion the effect of all the chaos that is really going on. I want to believe if the federal government have said, we are going to increase this, it should be able to be applicable to every state. Now, this brings accountability to question. If federal government agree to it, I'm very sure there are going to be an increment to allocation of every state. So where do we have this accountability being held accountable, the people there in the state, that, okay, if it's coming from the top, is an order, and there's something that has followed the order, which is monetary, in terms of monetary. So why are we not getting this accountability down to state levels, and we are still having this? That is one. Secondly, we have a lot of agitation, we have a lot of belief, we have a lot of things that we want the labor as be agitating for. With the economic situation of Nigeria, this is the two questions for you. Do you think we can match this right now with the economic situation of Nigeria? And also, having at the back of our mind, we are really facing hardship in this country. So can we really meet up for this?
All right, so thank you very much. I think I love the first question, and in a way, I'll link with the second question.
All right.
Now, but now, the first question is as regards each state's capacity. You know, constitutionally, there's already a design plan way of the way money is being shared, all right, across states. All right, they're all producing states, in which Ondo is a part of them. All right, so there have been the way they know the way they calculate some of those things, and money is shared across states, and that's why I don't hear anybody doing any protests. All right, when money is being shared.
Exactly.
But now the next question that we should ask is, if we are going to increase, and that's why the need for that subsidy needed to go. That's what because it was after that. I hope you know that it was after that, in the month of, is it August now or September now, that we had about 1.1 trillion that was then raised.
We heard.
Yes.
Were they put to judicious use?
Now that I'm trying to even explain to you.
Okay.
Now is that, and that's why I say I will link you with the second question.
All right.
Now, when they say you have 1.1 trillion, which was the highest since 1999, in a month now. Now, what that does is that it allows them to be able to see that you can increase the money that is accrued to states. The next problem about accountability is that everybody focus the energy on federal government, and we pay little attention to their states. Let me say that when the money came, what did Oyo State did? What did Lagos State did? What did Rivers did? Even the same Imo, all right? Some of these states have immediately also communicated to their own labor, all right, that in the next 6 months, also to cushion this effect, we will add this particular amount of money down, you know, across board. On those states, add their 25,000 naira to the hazard allowance, all right, for the state civil servants. Whether they have started paying, I think maybe they said it's from this month ending, but that they will also pay it for 6 months. Now, the money, as the money is increased from the federal level now, then they feel like for us to communicate that to people now, we need to also do what? Increase that money. And I know, I think I spoke at last time that I said that for me, I have my own fear now is that the increase now might likely not make any difference when the new minimum wage is out. Because that is where the issue of the inflation must be. Because KPMG, all right, just give a survey, that a prediction that by December that the inflation rate should be about 30%. Right, so, and I said clearly in my last conversation with you that what government is trying to do is that they are trying to also look at inflation. At the same time, trying to say they want to increase it, because if we don't have a price control, as a country, we don't have it. We don't have a board that controls prices, that regulates prices, all right? Because we are more of an importing country. We consume, we import more, so we cannot define prices for things like that. All right. So now, you have to also watch inflation. So once you announce that you have increasing salary, you have increased salary, you must realize that market and every other places, everybody will just do what they inflate their prices, and at the long run, the hardship. We might likely be wishing that the money was not increased or tampered at all. Then we have to think that why not let us go back to the beginning and where we are coming from, you know, thinking of the way Egypt might likely be, all right? So because we are at the Red Sea, all right? And this junction that we are as a country, all right, we must hold our states accountable. I have said it, and I am of the opinion that labor in each state are the one that must demand for accountability across states. You cannot, even enough, let me even say, I am a bit disappointed, all right, that as I see other states making progress with development with the same money that comes to them. You see Ekiti talking about IPP project, your state is talking about IPP project for power, and you come to Osun State is doing something. You have not had any news from them to maybe lamenting on something, but you come to Ondo State, you see as if we are on autopilot. It's like everybody is just doing what they just want to do. Nobody is, and so the question is, we know when you spoke earlier, you said, it was an order. The system of government in Nigeria cannot allow, president cannot order any governor. The rule of the game of politics and governance is so wide that you cannot command governor. Funny enough, when you even get to meetings, you might need to even motivate to persuade them to buy into your vision and to see why they need to do it. But you cannot command them to do it. Jigawa State will tell you and say that we don't have money like Lagos. I may not be able to do it. But what can I do? Borno State is saying, what can I do is that I will focus more on agriculture and see how I can relieve the farmers. I can see how I can invest in security, all right, because of the peculiarity of Borno State. It's different from Osun and Ekiti, and it's different from Ondo State. So now, if I tie it to the second one, the second question is the fact that we will need to focus more on states, because every month, as at now, UBA and some banks recorded, they have said that they have recorded a very massive returns on their investment, all right, since the subsidy was removed. Now, the president was at Saudi, all right, to see how we can, woo investors, that you guys can get your returns, because all the bottlenecks, all right, have been removed, so that you can get. So now, if other these multinationals now, I say that, I think we are making progress with this, then we as a people will need that we need to look down to state also. States also need to invest. They need to, the palliative cannot come from federal alone. If federal even disburse money, state government will still need to do something. I hope you know that when the federal government is talking about CNG buses, he said it's talking about even to university campuses. What is states of Ondo or other states, what are they doing for the campuses in their states? So would I hold the president responsible for Adekunle Ajasin University, which is a state university? No, we cannot do that, because it is a state. It's at the purview of the state to do it. And that's why most of the development, look at Kaduna. If we really want to even move this country economically, each state will need to come up economically. Each state will need to do, as Lagos State is going massively to see how they can win investors to their state, or your state, on those states should do better.
Okay, so now, I mean, Imo State being the key perpetrator of why we are having this discussion now, they've actually made mention that they've considerably, contacted the state governments now, because we're talking about accountability and transparency, to dialogue and then arrive at a constructive agreement. But it seems the government, like the state government, is actually not taking note and probably just riding on their human rights, right? So at this point, what would we say? Because these people are pushing for their rights, if I must use that word. But it seems the state government, because if they dialogue and then they agree at on a certain thing, we believe that okay, they'll actually achieve something, but they are trying and it's not working, and they claim that just maybe the state government is actually trying to ride on their human rights. So what would you say regarding this?
If I'm to look at that, look at the election, all right. If one of the ways by which you can communicate your agitation as a people, all right, is through your voting, all right. So, but what did the people of Imo State did? That should be a concern for me. What the Imo State did, when was the meeting, all right, and when was the election? The election happened, and the people of Imo State, because they still feel like they have a degree of trust, all right, in the government, they still voted massively. The distance between him and the second person was not small, all right, to let you know that there is a degree of trust that they have with the government. Now, the issue that Imo State is having are not with respect to the fact that maybe they are not paying them now, all right. The issue of the arrears are going to think that they will still need to keep dialoguing, all right. The arrears that have been paid, maybe pensioners arrears, all right. But with respect to even pensioners also, as even spoke, that the one that they are even talking about is gratuities, right, and which that one will be paid in phases. The fact that a union are pressing demands, right, does not mean that maybe they also are not unaware that the state does not really have the money to pay them. But then we have to not say because of that, we still have to push our demand, so that so that maybe the government also shifts ground a bit, while we also shift ground this place, and we can come, to a midpoint, all right, and see that some things are still made. So I know that those things they will keep, the dialogue will continue. But when now comes to the issue of the declaration of that strike action, now is where the issue for me. I'm saying it again, is that there is no sense in calling for a national strike because the president was attacked.
Okay, now still on the issue of strike. Sorry, Mr. Michael.
No problem.
So still on the issue of strike. I mean, I was actually speaking with Michael because when I went through the news, first thing that came to my mind was, is striking the only option to getting back at the government to meet demands? Because over the years, we've seen organizations, labor congress going on strike several times, and maybe little or nothing is done. But to you, I mean, is this the only strategy, I mean, labor has on getting back at the government to get their own demands?
Let me even first say that this administration, all right, is even the first administration that has not allowed the strike to even commence.
Exactly.
Before dialogue comes.
Yeah.
You remember the last administration of the president, former president Emmanuel. You know that, I mean, we likely have been in strike for like 1 month before you have been invited for dialogue. And so I know that this government want to do everything possible to ensure that strike do not go. But and as I said, that if you look at the 15 count chart, which I took time to also study, all right, and which they both agreed on, is the fact that dialogue will always be the first point of call. And as I think Labour will need to dialogue, all right. If they talk about the medical aspect of it, they need to present some of these things, all right, in their dialogue, all right. That this person, I would think the federal government should investigate this matter, but you cannot demand for the sacking of because those people are appointed, all right. They are not at the mercy of Labour, all right. As it stands now, it's still November 14th, so.
Yeah.
We don't know.
It's today already. Of course, it's today already.
So, I mean, they have not even declared. I'm not sure there is any.
All right. Now, you said something which really interests me a lot. You made mention of dialogue.
Yeah.
And I want to believe if both of us want to go into dialogue, if there's going to be an headway, we should both see it. And if I feel like this is going to be a stalemate, it's not going to really give a headway, I will go for another action. I think that is why we're having the strike. Though you made mention that to some point there are some political infringement behind the whole thing. Yeah. That okay, a certain party is affiliated to the Labour, but I want to believe that the Labour Union, they represent the general masses. That's what we have always believed. As you said, pressure group.
Always believe.
Always believe.
But I don't think so now.
Of course, you are allowed to believe otherwise. But now, this is my belief. The federal government have tried to bring them to dialogue. This is what we can offer. This is it. Now, when we want to talk about dialogue, we have reality. We have things that we aspire that we wish that, okay, this is where we are supposed to be. But we have reality of the economy, of what we find ourselves, or what we are really languishing in. And okay, this is how we are going to do it. Of course, I will present you my plans for you to feel like, okay, I can work with you. And if I feel I can work with you, of course, I am at liberty to go on strike if I'm the labor union.
Okay.
Now, we are seeing that play out. I don't know. I don't want to believe there is a political infringement, but if you say so, fine. But I don't want to believe. Now, if we say this is the situation on ground, the strike action, what are the economic effects are they going to cause on the Nigerian economy? That is one. Secondly, you spoke about price control. Price control is going to be effective for a country, as you also said earlier, that is producing. Now, if we are going to meet up with most of the labor's demands, I will say it is possible that we might not be able to get it because you are not producing in your country. Now, you said if president is going out, he will investors to come in. But in the country that you have insecurity, you have epileptic power supply, you have a lot of things really biting down your economy. Do you think we have a way out at this point?
All right, so thank you so much. I want to speak on the sense of hope.
Renewed hope
for Nigeria is the fact that, and others I'm laying emphasis to, because the strike that should commence, right, which is today now, is not hinged on what was discussed before with the federal government. It's an issue of the Imo State related issue. And as I've said, the basis for them going on strike, all right, is not too tenable, all right, as far as I'm concerned. But now, when I talk about this of the investors coming in, I very well strongly is the fact that even for us to work on power too, we need to bring investors. Government, at this time, government cannot single-handedly single-handedly invest in trying to say they want to build this country. That is why you will need the private sector to drive your economy. All right. And so if I'm bringing investors, all right, if I if I have a problem with power, and there's a company that can fix power for me, I need to bring them into the country to fix this power.
But you are not just going to bring them in for free.
Actually,
of course. So if I'm bringing in somebody to come and take charge of my power, I'm very much sure that they will demand something. Yeah. Can you afford what their demands are going to be?
Those are the place of contract agreements, and that's what both parties will have to now strike their deals to say, okay, what are we going to bring? What are you going to give us? What will likely be your returns? Right. So I hope you know that even the railway line, the railway, the Lagos Ibadan, it was via the PPP project. The HDMI approach also was what the Ministry of Works used, Fashola, trying to see that we get routes across the country. So there are different approaches how we can still bring them in, because they really want to even help us to drive. So with this current threat, because it's more likely that time is not on our side. So with this current threat at hand, because the NLC, TUC, they've said if their demands are not met, they are going to shut down. Because I read that the fuel will not be a lot of things will go down. Exactly. So I mean, what would be your advice to them? And now to the re-elected government, governor of Imo State, do you think he will bring something, or he would give a listening ear to these people, or he will meet their needs? If not, what would you advise this to? My final was that Imo State government should know that the people of Imo State have entrusted him to deliver good governance. He is at their service, and he must give his very best in serving the people of Imo State. Number two is to the labor, to ensure that they should go back to dialogue, and that their demands should be tabled with the federal government through dialogues and not through strike. And the Zobo approach would not be, is not advisable at this very point in time where we are trying to build the country Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I would like to say this. I must say the discussion today has ended for me inconclusive, because I still have a lot of things for us to look into, which I believe we are going to get to here very soon.
Hopefully.
And thank you once again for coming on the program.
Yeah, thank you once again.
All right, viewers. Dialogue, they say, is the best when it comes to bringing your demands to the table and trying to understand what is real and what is obtainable. Right now, we believe that we don't need strike, we don't need industrial strike actions in Nigeria. We just need to work together as a team to drive Nigeria to where we believe it's supposed to be as a nation. From us here, we'll be calling it a day on Daybreak Africa. So we'll be handing you over to our Lagos studio. We should believe they have more juicy package to give to you. I remain Michael Obagiri.
And until next time, I'm Kareen, Edet.